For this project, we're going to be using InDesign. InDesign is used for page layout. So Photoshop is specifically for photos, editing photos or raster images. InDesign is used again for laying out where those photos are going to go. Illustrator is different from this as well, where you're creating different drawings and graphic images in Illustrator. So InDesign is page layout. When you first open up InDesign, it's going to look something like this. So you're going to be able to see right through to the background of your screen, and you're going to have the tool panel on the left and on the top as well. It didn't open wrong, you just don't have anything opened yet to work with, so you have to create a new document first. So I'm going to go up to File at the top of the screen and go over to New, and then I'm just going to hit Document. When this pops up, I'm going to leave it set to default at the top, and then the intent to print I'm going to leave as well. What I am going to change is the width and the height. When I'm changing the width and the height, what I'm going to do is start out with the width, and you'll notice that it says 51 and then P and then a 0. I'm going to erase that, and I'm going to type in for my width 11 and then IN for inches. And then when I click down to my height to edit that, it's going to switch and convert it to 66p and then 0. So I'm going to leave that, so it already converted that for me. For the height, I'm going to type in 8.5 IN. So again, it's in inches. And then when I click off and hit OK, it's going to transition that into the InDesign setting there. So typing in IN will just convert it to inches. All of the stuff at the bottom I'm going to leave how it is. We're going to worry about that for the next project. But for now I'm going to hit OK. And as soon as this pops up, you'll notice a couple of things. First of all, there is this purple outline, this purple box that is going around my image. This is just a guideline, so this will disappear once it's printed. Since InDesign is used for page layout, I've already edited the letters, but if you did not do that yet, make sure you go through Photoshop and edit your letters using the Photoshop workflow. But starting out, I'm going to just lay out where I want each individual letter. So if you look at the top of your screen, there's a set of rulers on the top and on the left side. And I'm going to click on that ruler and drag down, and this is bringing a guideline down with it. And I'm going to drop that guideline at the top of my image here, just to kind of lay out where I want the top of all my letters to line up with. Then I'm going to click and drag another guideline down and decide kind of how tall I want my letters to be spaced out in. If you have a long word, you're probably going to need to use a thinner space to fit all of your letters going across. If you have a word with maybe just 4 or 5 letters, you can use like a larger layout is fine, but you can always go back and rearrange the size of everything. But for now, just start out with those 2 guidelines to tell you how tall you want each letter to be. If you're someone who wanted some letters to be taller than others, that's where you can click and drag another guideline down to show maybe the height of every other letter where you want that to be a little bit larger. To get rid of a guideline, if you click on it and then hit delete on your keyboard, when it's selected, it will go away. The next step is to lay out frames, and these frames are going to tell me where I want to put each individual picture. So they're basically like picture frames, showing you kind of the outline and the spacing of all of your letters. Frames are found on the left side of your tool panel. It's going to be this rectangle with the X through it. The rectangle below it that does not have the X through it is if you were creating just a rectangle to fill with color, which we will look at in the future. But right now we're just using the rectangle with the X through it for the frame, and this is going to size up the placement and size of your letters. So I'm going to click and drag across my screen to create the height and width of my first letter. If you hold down Shift, it will keep it as a square. So if you wanted your letters to be squared, you would just hit the Shift button while you're creating that rectangle. But for now, I'm just going to use a rectangle since some of my letters might be a little bit taller, then I'm going to let go, and this creates a frame. What I'm going to do for the rest of my frames so that they stay the exact same size is just copy and paste it. So to copy, I'm hitting Command C, and to paste, I'm hitting Command V. And I'm spelling out the word smile, so I'm going to make sure that I'm copying and pasting enough squares for that. Right now I have 3 lined up next to each other, and I'm just, for the first one, kind of guessing at the distance I want or the spacing between my 2 letters. But when I get to my 3rd box, you'll notice that these little green lines are popping up underneath the spacing. And this is telling me that I have the exact same space between both of my letters. So if it's not, there's not going to be that green line. So you want to make sure that you're lining things up so you have those green little guidelines, smart guides they're called, that are popping up telling you where the spacing is exact. So then I'm going to let go. I know that that spacing's good. I'm going to paste another box, and I'm lining that up until I get that little smart guide that pops up. Now you'll notice that I still need one more box, but there's not enough space to kind of fill that. So what I'm going to do is just shrink all of my boxes together. So I'm going to click off in this white space over here and drag my arrow across the screen and highlight all of my boxes. Then I'm going to hold down Shift and click and drag these to make them a little bit smaller so I have enough room for another box. So then I can recopy this since I resized it. I'm going to hit Command C and then Command V to paste. And I'm moving this over and making sure that those little smart guides are popping up. Then I'm going to let go. And I think I might need to resize that one more time just so that this little purple edge, which is that guideline, is lined up right with the edge of my box. Alright, so now that everything's lined up, it's all ready to go, and I'm ready to place my letters into these boxes. Now I'm going to start placing my letters, so I'm going to select my frame for my first box. It's important that you're selecting the frame that you want to put your picture into. So I'm going to click on that first frame, and I'm going to go to File, and then Place, and I'm going to find my first letter. So I have it under a folder called Letters, and then I'm going to choose my S, and I'm going to hit Open, and it places it directly into my first frame. Now a couple of things that you'll notice. First of all, it's a little bit pixelated, a little bit blurry. And the reason why is because the display is set to a low quality at first. It's set to a low quality so that if you're creating something in InDesign, which is usually used for yearbooks or newspapers, magazines, it's trying to keep that file size really small so that it doesn't take up too much space on your computer. But since we're just working with one document, it's okay to set the quality to a high image display, a high quality image. So what I'm going to do, and this is an important step, so make sure that you do this on your InDesign image, but I'm going to go up to View, and then I'm going to go over to Display Performance, and then I'm going to hit High Quality Display. And this is going to clear up my image so that it's at the highest quality possible. Now I'm going to click on my image, and you'll notice that this orange box here, this orange frame, is showing me how big my picture is compared to my actual frame. You could either click on the corners of this orange box and hold down Shift and drag to kind of line up the sizing of that so that your S or whichever letter you're placing fits. Or an easier way too is if you click with 2 fingers on this little kind of circle with this hand that pops up in the middle. If you click with 2 fingers on that, you can go down to all the way down to where it says fitting in the middle here. And then you can hit fill frame proportionately. And when you click on that, it's going to automatically align the size of your image correctly. Alright, I'm going to do that one more time and place one more letter. So I'm clicking on my frame, going to File, Place, getting my next letter. This one you'll notice is a lot smaller than my image, so I'm going to again click on that with 2 fingers, go to Fitting, hit Fill Frame Proportionately, and then you can also kind of move it around a little bit within your image. So you'll notice this orange box, I have a little bit of room at the top, So if I click when this hand pops up on the circle, which is called the content grabber, I can click on that and kind of drag or move my image within my frame. So just my image is moving. However, if you want your entire photo to move, including the frame, into a different location, so maybe putting the M below my S, I need to click on, instead of the photo, instead of this little circle, I need to click on the entire image itself, so the frame. So I'm going to click on the frame, the outside of my photo, and I'm going to drag that. And this is what's moving the entire photo. So again, just moving the image, I'm clicking on that little circle. To move the entire image, I'm clicking on the outside frame and moving that. Go ahead and continue adding in the rest of the letters, and then make sure you do save it, and then go on to the next video in Classroom, which is going to walk you through adding border and text and some different additional things to your photo.